Welcome, everyone. Today we're taking a deep dive into Damascus University. It's the oldest and largest university in Syria. Pretty impressive, huh? And we're going to be using its Wikipedia article as our guide. But we're not just sticking to the facts and figures.
You got it. We're going deeper, trying to understand what makes this university so special. What's its impact and legacy?
Right. So it all started with a medical school way back in 1903.
Yep.
But here's something interesting. The law school that later became part of the university, it was founded in Beirut 5 years later.
Yeah, that's a good point. Universities often grow kind of gradually. It wasn't like, boom, a master plan right from the start.
Right.
It was more like things happening, developing over time, and eventually they kind of came together.
Yeah.
And you got to think about the context, too. Like, back then, the medical school's language of instruction was Turkish.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, that shows you how complex the political situation was back then.
So we're already seeing Damascus University's history is tied to these bigger historical events.
Yeah, absolutely. And that continues as we go through the timeline. Like when those schools merged with others in 1923 to form the Syrian University, and then later it became Damascus University in 1958 after the University of Aleppo was established, it all reflects how national priorities and education trends shaped things.
And even something like the formation of the United Arab Republic in 1958, a major political event, seems to have influenced the university's development too, huh?
Exactly. And this raises a question. How much do universities reflect the societies they're in? Can we understand Syria's journey just by looking at its oldest and largest university? What do you think?
That's a great question. It reminds us that these institutions are not just standalone things. They're part of a larger context, shaped by it and also shaping it.
Right. And moving from history to how the university is actually structured, that connection becomes even more clear. Damascus University now, it's huge. It offers everything from bachelor's degrees to PhDs in a wide range of subjects. It's almost like a mini Syria, reflecting the country's diversity and what people are striving for.
It is impressive. The variety of faculties, wow. But what surprised me was seeing technical institutes within the university. I didn't expect that. Do you think this points to a more practical, hands-on approach to education alongside the traditional academic stuff?
Totally. These institutes, they offer two-year diplomas, focused and specialized. They cater to students who maybe want a faster route to specific skills. And here's the cool part. Those diplomas can be a stepping stone. Graduates can actually continue to faculty-level studies if they want to.
So it's like a built-in pathway for those who, later decide they want to go further. It's a smart system that recognizes different needs and goals.
It is. Makes me wonder, for someone interested in, say, engineering, what would stand out about Damascus University's program?
Well, I don't know all the details, but from what we're saying, I'd say it's that mix of theory and practice combined with its strong connection to Syrian society. That might make it unique. And of course, there's the Faculty of Medicine. It has this global reputation.
Oh, yeah.
Especially as a major source of licensed physicians for the U.S. That's pretty amazing.
It is. And we got to mention the Faculty of Pharmacy, too. Founded alongside medicine back in 1903, shows their early focus on health sciences. It's like looking at a family tree, seeing how certain branches grew strong over time.
Speaking of branches, we can't forget the Arabic Language Institute. It's known worldwide as the place to learn Arabic. Makes perfect sense, right? To master a language, you got to immerse yourself in the culture.
Yeah, like studying art in Florence or music in Vienna. You're going right to the source, learning from those who've lived it for generations.
Exactly. And that highlights something else important about Damascus University, its role in keeping Arabic language and culture alive and strong, not just in Syria, but internationally.
Yeah, it's a kind of soft power, influencing and shaping views through cultural exchange and education.
Right. But as we go deeper, we see that this university is not just an ivory tower, right? It's really connected to daily life in Syria. Like, take their own hospitals. They specialize in things like obstetrics and gynecology and cardiac surgery.
That's a perfect example. Damascus University isn't just about educating students. It's a vital part of the healthcare system, providing essential services. It reminds us that knowledge is most valuable when it's applied to real problems.
Makes you wonder about the research that happens between the medical faculties and those hospitals. What kind of solutions might come out of that?
That's an intriguing question. There's definitely potential for groundbreaking research there, especially given the specific challenges and opportunities in Syria.
It's like we're seeing two sides of the same coin. The pursuit of knowledge for its own sake and using that knowledge to make lives better.
And that duality, it's woven into Damascus University itself. from its history to how it's structured and what it does today.
I can picture it now. Students and researchers all busy on this huge campus, immersing themselves in the library, working on projects, maybe grabbing a quick bite at the cafeteria. Speaking of the library, it's been around since 1903, just like the medical school. That's a lot of knowledge under one roof.
The Damascus University Library. It's like a treasure chest, full of historical documents, rare books, and the latest research. It shows how much the university values preserving and sharing knowledge across generations.
But it's not just about books and research papers. They also offer career guidance, skills building centers, and even business clinics. They seem pretty focused on bridging that gap between academics and the real world of work.
You got it. It's about giving students more than just knowledge. It's about giving them skills and experience to succeed.
Mhm.
And remember those agreements with other institutions we talked about.
Yeah.
They often include internships and exchange programs, making those practical connections even stronger.
It's like they're saying, we won't just hand you a degree, we'll help you build a future. Which brings us to the alumni list. I was really impressed. What do you think?
Yeah, it's amazing. We're talking presidents, scholars, artists, even members of the al-Assad family. It shows how influential the university has been in Syrian leadership and society.
And it's not just Syria, right? We see foreign presidents on that list too, like Mahmoud Abbas. Makes you wonder about its reach, its ability to attract students and shape thinking beyond its borders.
It does suggest that Damascus University has held a prestigious position not just in Syria, but regionally, maybe even further. It seems to have fostered intellectual exchange, acting as a bridge between countries.
I'm struck by the variety of fields represented by the alumni. Scholars, artists, politicians, scientists, writers. It reflects the university's wide range of subjects and its ability to cultivate talent across many disciplines.
And think about the impact these alumni have had globally, contributing to literature, science, politics, the arts. They've left their mark on history in so many ways.
It makes you wonder about the conversations that happen on campus, the ideas debated, the connections made, all of that spreading out, shaping events beyond the university itself.
Yeah, like looking at a constellation of stars, each with its own story, but all connected to the same origin.
Okay, before we move on, I gotta mention the logo. It's fascinating. It's not just some design, it's full of symbolism.
Yeah, what's got?
There's a lamp representing knowledge and a verse from the Quran about the importance of continuous learning. It's like a visual representation of the university's core values.
That's interesting. I'm drawn to the lamp as a symbol. It's about enlightenment, using knowledge to dispel ignorance. And that Quranic verse, say, "Oh my Lord, increase me in knowledge." It perfectly captures the university's spirit of lifelong learning.
Like they're saying, we're not just here to give you a degree, we're here to ignite a passion for knowledge that lasts.
Exactly. It speaks to the power of education to change not just careers, but personal growth and societal progress.
We've covered a lot already, but there's one more thing about Damascus University I want to touch on before we wrap up this part. The article mentions they've climbed the rankings lately. One reason seems to be their research on sustainable development.
That's important. It shows they're not just looking at their past, but also the future. By embracing sustainable development, they're positioning themselves to be key players in addressing some of the biggest challenges facing Syria and the world.
It's like they're saying, we're not just observers, we're actively shaping a better future. And that's a powerful message, especially considering the difficulties Syria has faced.
It is. It highlights how important universities can be in rebuilding and recovery after conflict.
So far, we've journeyed through time, explored the beginnings of Damascus University, traced its changes through historical events, and uncovered its complex structure and mission. We've heard about remarkable alumni, marveled at their dedication to healthcare and practical skills, and been inspired by their commitment to lifelong learning and sustainable development. But our journey's not over yet. There's so much more to uncover.
You know, as we've been talking about Damascus University, it really strikes me how much it embodies that idea of universitas, a community of teachers and scholars all coming together to pursue knowledge.
Yeah, that connection back to the root of the word university, it really hits home. Those early universities, they were all about open inquiry, debate, sharing ideas. Makes you wonder if that's still driving Damascus University today, even with all the challenges of the modern world.
I think it definitely is.
Mm-hmm.
Just look at the range of programs they offer. We talked about the technical institutes, but there's so much more. Like, their Faculty of Architecture has a really long and distinguished history. Imagine the impact those graduates have had, shaping the look of Syria and beyond.
You're right. I'm picturing those beautiful mosques, the palaces, the bustling markets of Damascus. Wouldn't be surprised if many of those were designed by Damascus University alumni.
It's very possible. And it's not just about preserving the past, though. Those architects, they're designing for the future, too, bringing in sustainable design and new technologies.
So it's like blending the old and the new, huh? Creating buildings that respect the past but also look ahead.
Exactly. That mix of tradition and innovation, we see it in a lot of areas at Damascus University. Take Islamic jurisprudence, for example. Deeply rooted in tradition. But scholars there are tackling modern issues, reinterpreting old texts through the lens of today's challenges.
It's amazing how even those traditional fields can be so dynamic. Seems like critical thinking and curiosity are really part of the whole Damascus University experience.
Absolutely. And that commitment to intellectual rigor, it's drawn students and scholars from all over the world. Remember those collaborative agreements?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them reach far beyond Syria, connecting Damascus University to institutions globally.
It's like they've woven this huge intellectual network, a web of knowledge and collaboration spanning continents, shows that learning knows no boundaries, right? It's something we all share.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it reminds us that universities like Damascus University, they're vital for building understanding between cultures, promoting dialogue. They're not just centers of learning, they're bridges.
And those bridges, they're more important than ever these days when the world feels so divided. Maybe that's one of the biggest takeaways from our deep dive into Damascus University, that need to embrace diversity, talk to each other, find common ground.
I think you've hit on something really profound. It's a reminder that education, it's not just about facts and figures. It's about developing empathy, compassion, building connections that go beyond our differences.
It makes you think about the real world impact. We've talked about their medical programs, the focus on sustainable development, but where else have they made their mark?
One area that often gets overlooked is the humanities. Damascus University has a strong program in Arabic literature. They've produced some really well-known poets, novelists, literary critics. Their work has influenced culture, not just within Syria, but across the Arab world.
It's a good reminder that a university's impact goes way beyond science and technology. It's about nurturing the arts, preserving culture, encouraging us to think critically about what it means to be human.
And those contributions can be so powerful, especially in a region that's seen so much conflict. Through words, through art, these alumni are helping rebuild and reimagine their society, offering new perspectives, stories of hope and resilience.
I'm also curious about the university's rise in the rankings. We talked about the sustainable development research, but the article also mentioned something called webometrics rankings. What are those exactly?
Webometrics rankings, basically they measure a university's online presence, how visible they are on the web. It looks at things like how many web pages they have, how many citations their website gets, the overall quality of their content online. It's a way to assess their reach and impact in this digital age.
So it's not just about the research itself, but how effectively they're sharing it with the world.
Exactly. And these days, that online presence is key. It's about making connections, working with other institutions, attracting the best minds from around the world.
It seems like universities aren't just competing nationally anymore, they're on a global stage.
They are. And it's worth noting that Damascus University's rise in the rankings is happening while Syria is going through some really tough times. The fact that they're not just surviving, but actually thriving in the face of all that, it says a lot about their strength and determination.
It really speaks to the power of education and the enduring human spirit. Even when things are tough, there's this drive to learn, to grow, to create, to build a better future. It is incredible what Damascus University has achieved, especially when you consider what's been happening in Syria. Makes you wonder about the people there, the students and faculty. Living through all that, what do you think it's been like for them?
That's a really good question, one we can only really imagine. To be part of a place that's been so central to Syrian society for over a century, to see it evolve and adapt, that must be quite an experience.
I'm thinking about those who were students during the conflict studying while all that chaos was going on. That must have taken some serious dedication.
Yeah, definitely. I imagine the university became a sort of haven for them, a place where they can focus on learning, find some sense of normalcy and hope amidst all the turmoil.
It speaks to how education can help us rise above even the toughest situations. And it makes me think about the role Damascus University might play in Syria's future. As the country starts to rebuild and recover, how do you think they'll contribute?
Well, we've already talked about their emphasis on sustainable development research. That could be really important for building a stronger, more equitable future for Syria. Think about the impact they could have in areas like infrastructure, energy, water, agriculture.
It's like they're giving a new generation the tools to not just rebuild what was lost, but create something even better, more sustainable, more just.
Exactly. And through those international partnerships, they're bringing in fresh perspectives and knowledge, connecting Syria to a global network of innovation.
It's like planting seeds of hope for the future, a future where knowledge and collaboration drive progress.
Something we often forget when talking about universities is the sheer beauty of knowledge itself. That pursuit of understanding, the joy of discovery, the thrill of connecting ideas. Those are the real rewards that drive academics.
It's true. It's easy to get caught up in rankings and numbers and forget about the simple joy of learning for the sake of learning.
I agree. And that's what I hope our listeners take away from this deep dive. A renewed appreciation for how education can change us, the importance of never stopping learning, and the amazing things that knowledge can unlock.
That's a great point to end on. Our deep dive into Damascus University has taken us on quite a journey. We've explored its rich history, its complex structure, its wide-ranging influence, and its inspiring resilience. But really, this is just the start. There's so much more to discover, and I encourage all of you to keep exploring Damascus University on your own.
Dive into their research, connect to the people there, maybe even visit Damascus someday. Experience this amazing ancient city and its famous university firsthand.
Who knows, maybe you'll even be inspired to help shape the next chapter in Damascus University's story.
And if there's one thing we hope you take away from this deep dive, it's this. Keep asking questions, keep searching for answers, and keep expanding your horizons. That's what learning is all about.
Well said. And on that note, we say goodbye from the deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those brains buzzing.